VeeFriends from your perspective? How is it the same, almost 3 years later, and how is it different?
First time I heard about burnout, it must have been mid to late.
Did you have an opportunity to watch/enjoy Busta Rhymes on that first night?
Yeah, Busta Rhymes I got to see.
Fam, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the VeeFam Sessions. My name is Mr. Messer, but you can call me Rob, and I'm back with Optimistic Otter Maxi, marketing manager for VeeFriends, just all around amazing dude, Mr. Tyler Dowdle, T Dowds. How are you, my friend? Welcome back.
Hey Rob, I am doing great. Hey VeeFam listeners, thank you guys for listening. I'm a big fan of the show. I'm sure we'll get into it, but came on a couple of years back. I think it was like one of the first 10, and now you're at coming up on episode 50, which is amazing, and congratulations on that. I think it's a testament to a lot of the hard work that you've been putting in, and like you took the leap that a lot of people don't take of just actually starting and doing episode 1. And then I think like 99% of podcasts start or do episode 1 and then end. And the fact that you're coming up on 50 is amazing. So I'm pumped to be here. Excited to chat on everything that has transpired over the past couple of years.
Appreciate the kind words. And I say this from time to time on this show, depending on who I'm talking to. And I tweeted it today, but I'll just put it on wax here. Like you were number 9, and you were the first person from the team to agree to come on and say yes, which was a big, looking back, like that's a big deal, because there's this, we have a very special community where there's a lot of crossing over that imaginary line, and the community helping the team helping the community. But like to kind of go on record on a community podcast, I think is a big deal. And I appreciate you being the first one to kind of step on the coals to say like it's not so bad. And then many followed.
I think it's like a testament also to just the way that you've conducted the interviews and the podcast, of making everyone from the community and from the team just feel comfortable on like answering your questions, and like knowing that obviously in Web3 and NFTs, like alpha is king, and people are trying to get nuggets of information where they can, which can lead people to be hesitant to share anything. And I think that you do a good job of just being respectful of that and knowing that there's things we can share and can't share. And I think is one of the reasons why you're coming up on episode 50.
I appreciate that. I'm glad the people are sensing the ripples out there. But for anyone listening, Tyler has a fantastic backstory, as Gary would say, comic book number 1. Please listen back to episode 9. Even if you have to pause this one, go to episode 9 and then come back to this, because he's got a fantastic story. The TLDR, he member of the community. The headline is that he got scammed, got into a bad deal, like many of us do. Someone impersonated Andy Kranick, the president, lost it all, and he just started brick by brick, building himself back up, which helped propel him into a position in the marketing department at VeeFriends, and now he's the manager, a very seasoned manager now, in the top tier of that ecosystem. So thank you for coming back. Please check out the story, because I'm sure we'll kind of allude to it, but I want to, talk more about what's happened, like you said, in the past couple years. But, not to totally blow past this, but also congratulations. So you got engaged. So that's changed.
Thank you. Yeah, that has changed. We have the wedding coming up in October this year, so we're in full planning and all that kind of mode, which has been a lot of fun. I have only actually been to a couple of weddings, like personally, so I'm learning a lot of like the process of planning a wedding, like as we go, which is a lot of fun. My fiance is amazing. She's doing a lot of the legwork. I'm just trying to support where I can, but it's really exciting.
That's awesome. Enjoy the ride. I mean, as someone that's been there and done that, like everything they say about the actual wedding day is true. Like it goes by in a flash and you're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
But like looking back, it was the things that I could digest and remember more was that process, like those moments, like doing the tastings and going to this meeting and just kind of having fun with it in the process. So enjoy the special time because yeah, the actual day goes super fast.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure you'll have plenty of uh, documenting. Um, awesome. So, man, I mean, where do I start? Let's start here. That's this old adage in old adage. It's an adage in Web3 that a month feels like a year, and we're coming up on 3 years in VeeFriends. You've been there for the majority of it. You came in around Christie's Day, I remember, which is October 1st, 2021. So, I mean, you're becoming an old man as well in there. But like, just like before we dive in, like just total like bird's eye view, VeeFriends from your perspective, how is it the same? Almost 3 years later, and how is it different? And you can go, how you guys operate. I know the team's grown, but I'll just let you take that kind of meta question and run with it.
Yeah, I think you teed it up perfectly. Like from a business structure operational standpoint, it's a night and day difference to where we have project managers and all these processes in place for these launches and proper reviews and approvals and a legal counsel that is a great resource for us. If I compare now, like we handle a lot of our communications over email and Slack, where back in 2021, 2022, we had a team that was fully in like a team exclusive Discord channel. So we ran out of Discord. We had an iMessage group chat that the whole company was in with Gary. So we were much more scrappy, and I think the scrappy nature of VeeFriends I think continues just from a Gary led company. We're always going to be scrappy and be in the dirt. We're reading as much, if not more, comments as we were back in 2021, 2022, taking all that feedback and then deploying our new processes and strengths against that to implement it in a way that we think is meaningful. It's been just really cool to watch VeeFriends go from project to company to brand to future enterprise and renowned, hopefully future renowned kids
Mm-hmm.
brand and just IP in general. So it's
I,
been amazing. Like there's hundreds of launches and activations that we've done over the past couple of years, and it's amazing to think that we're only 3 years in and there's so much more to do. We're like just getting started in the first quarter.
Absolutely. It's I mean, there's no way you guys obviously like the work ethic, like there's always going to be that Gary and VeeFriends like may drive. I don't need to be there to see that, know that just by the all the work and huge activations and huge collaborations get churned out. It seems week after week now. But is there still that like where early like chip on their shoulder kind of like scrappy mentality, like you're still in that little core team in an iMessage chat?
Totally. Yeah. And I think it's twofold. One, it's like the type of people that VeeFriends hires that's on the team that,
Mhm.
I was listening to, Cam's episode and Ezra's episode this morning, and they talk about how most, if not everyone on the team is cut from the same cloth of being a hard worker, being curious, being kind, empathetic, but also like being in the dirt and like wanting to get the feedback and the comments. So I think like that scrappy nature is still there. I think the most recent and clear example is like the cards team and what they're
Mhm.
doing on Fanatics Live with Adam and Connor and Liam and Courtney, just grinding. They put in, I think it was a 10.5 hour stream on Sunday for the Slam Dunk show,
Mhm.
followed by hundreds of packages that need to be packed and shipped and addressed and all that stuff. So I think like in that nature, like it's very clear to see the scrappy nature and the we're still early, like just getting started approach.
Absolutely, yeah. And it just before we got on, I saw Rips teasing an even bigger show for Thursday. So, man, talk about laying bricks over there. So before we get into kind of the timeline of things, I'd love to double click into your personal story because you've had a promotion, and I can't remember. Forgive me, I can't remember your kind of marketing background prior to getting in the team, but you've obviously elevated there. It's, you're attached to, one of the great marketing machines, contemporary marketing machines, um, around today. So I'm curious, like, what you've learned professionally. Obviously, that we know that there's an abundance of soft skills, but just for you as a professional marketer, what if there's a couple of nuggets or maybe a anecdote that you really grew over the last few years? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I think so. From October of 2021 until summer of 2023, I was in a platform strategy producer role where I was running the social media accounts, similar to what Ezra's doing now, and then transitioned to marketing manager. And like when I was in we call it PSP for platform strategy producer. When I was a PSP, I was so in like the micro, I guess, like in the dirt of what am I posting on this platform? How are we optimizing for the platform? And then transitioning to marketing manager, there was even more platforms to consider, like our email campaigns, our website copy, our text message campaigns, things like that. That our blogs is a really big one that kind of drives the rest of our marketing language and marketing campaigns. So like that was like a different kind of gear that I had to switch on to focus on like the campaign and the communications holistically from like a more macro like 360 approach, and just how all of those pieces fit together instead of being more of the publisher and the person who's executing, being more of the strategist and building out those campaigns and how they look like from a 360 perspective.
Are you naturally more that way? Are you naturally more like futuristic and see like the goal and then kind of reverse engineer it to be that strategist? Or was that something that you kind of had to, had the learning curve versus just being in it all the time, day in, day out, just kind of what's ever right in front of you?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like being in like the PSP role when we had 15 employees where everyone's doing everything, like I was still kind of reviewing the blogs and things like that to where I was getting like some context and nuggets and like those kind of like trains of thought were working their way into my process. But then when I made the switch to marketing manager, like that's when it became real clear. And like there was a little bit of a learning curve. I think I always knew like kind of what from our end, like what a successful campaign or promotion or activation looks like. And the steps that we've taken previously to get there and like what our processes have been to date. And then like I've been trying to just add in my kind of taste to it and perspective on ways that we can improve that and the different fun ways that we can continue to build on that now that we have obviously someone completely dedicated to doing those things.
Very cool. Yeah, and obviously my vantage point is only from out here, but just observing how things have been kind of teased out and dripped out to us, built up, and we'll get into some of it. But it's been really cool, and obviously you have a great team in all of these departments. We have the website is just kicking, just looks amazing. Meet.VeeFriends, the card pocket, so much great stuff going on. The community, you've obviously you grew up in the community here. You were very vocal about, you like to see what's the community saying. You enjoy, hearing everyone's thoughts. I guess similar, like part B to the question I asked you at the top, like, do you notice a difference in the community versus, May 2021 versus now from where you sit?
Yes and no. Obviously like 2021 was an era of its own and like people were involved in the community for various reasons. I think like a lot of the core group has stuck around and is still here and are the people who probably come to mind when you hear the VeeFriends community. I think generally it's similar the way that we think about it. And we've seen every different style of feedback and piece of feedback that we can now to where we're able to be on the offense and hedge against these different pieces of feedback or pitfalls that we may fall into. Obviously still learning a ton every day and finding ways to improve upon that. But I think like my personal view and our team's view of the community is generally remain the same, and that like it's a group of genuinely kind and good people that want the best for VeeFriends, want VeeFriends to succeed, want to see Gary do great things, and want to be a part of the ride for it and a part of the process and the journey.
Yeah, I mean that's it right there. Like that's always been the through line, regardless of what era you got in. Like NFT, crazy bull market of Series 1, or you're just winning a free pack, and then kind of catching the bug and falling into a space or a stream or whatever. Like that's the kind of people that maybe not come in for a quick cup of coffee, but those are the people that stay. They
Yeah.
have that DNA.
Yeah, like people join us. Maybe it's out of curiosity for the physical collectibles or interested in Gary, or maybe it was a partnership that we did with a different brand that discovered VeeFriends, similar to the Mattel Masters of the Universe collaboration, where a lot of that audience discovered Skill Skeleton and stuff like that. And then they come like out of curiosity and then get really deep roots because they like the people that are involved. They like the messaging of the characters, the way the brand looks and feels, and all that stuff, which I think is very unique to VeeFriends and something that we don't take for granted.
I'm just kind of thinking how I want to take this. So there's a lot, and you see this because you probably see everything at scale, but there's, from the community perspective, there's a lot of feedback that comes through. There's a lot of what I can only guess is, generalizations. All of the OGs left. Gary hypes everything, particularly when it's negative feedback. And I think a lot about the OG thing, and not to get into like the nitty gritty of it or the who, what, where, but like the term OG, I'm like curious, and I think like we are playing at a level that we could jam on this for a sec. Like, what does that mean to like you in this particular ecosystem? Because it's a word that gets thrown around, like, and a lot of people like that were around at the beginning of Fanatics, like when they came in, like people call them OGs. I was just talking to Alyssa Jordan and Ron about like Clubhouse days, like they're OGs. So I'm curious from like where you sit, like, is that a word that gets used internally? Do you think about that as a just a community member? Just out of curiosity, your thoughts on that whole label.
Yeah, I think like from a general standpoint, like if you know what VeeFriends is right now, like you're an OG. But I think there's also levels to it, to where if you minted VeeFriends in 2021, like you're the OG of the OG. I think that's kind of a different tier of OG. Yeah, I think it really just depends on like when you found VeeFriends and when you got involved in the community. But like we were talking about earlier, it's still so early to where,
Yeah,
5 years from now, someone who discovers VeeFriends today on March 26, 2024 is definitely an OG in my mind.
That's a great point. And like I guess this is one of those these seasons where I'm like my head is underwater so much, like I haven't come up for air to realize like, oh, like we are still early. But I mean, it's hard to with so much going on, and that's a good thing that I'm in it. But yeah, like you're right, we are still so early, and we're talking about coming up on 3 years, which in business and brand building years, that's it's still a VeeFriends baby. I think Gary mentioned, or Andy, or one of them.
Yeah, and I think in like those early days of 2021, 2022, like how everyone would say we're still early, those kind of different taglines that would get thrown around, like I don't know if everybody fully grasped. I don't know if I fully grasp just how long it takes to build like that type of foundation for like the type of scale that we're trying to reach and hit and grow VeeFriends to. Like if you think about all of the different partnerships and activations and in events and stuff like that VeeFriends has thrown in the past 3 years. And we're not we're not Disney scale yet. We're not Dragon Ball Z yet. And you realize like a lot of these, I think Dune like even is a good example of an IP that was started in like the 80s with the Dune books, and now is having its moment
Right, with
in
the movie.
movies that's like getting a lot of people into the Dune universe. And you see that a lot with movies and TV shows of IPs that started in the 70s and 80s that it doesn't not until 50 years later where they're having their feature film that really cracks through and takes their brand to the next scale of where they're trying to go. And I think like just thinking about how we're only 3 years in and into a genuinely a 55-year game is really exciting.
It just takes time. Like to his credit, he shouted it from the rooftops for forever. 55 years, 55 years, 55 years. And a lot of the negativity that's stemming from the pipelines of whatever Discord, Twitter, is it all like if you really dig into that comment, it's lack of patience. It's just lack of patience, not understanding exactly what you just said. Like it takes a long time to build something meaningful.
Yeah,
And
maybe
I'm
it's
like, it's a little podcast. Like I'm really like I thought I understood, but now I'm really understanding it because I'm actually doing it. It just takes time.
Yeah, it really does. And you can say it as much as you want, but like until you have some type of experience where you have that breakthrough moment or something that really proves it to you personally, it's hard to like fully wrap your head around. Obviously it's easy, quote unquote, for Gary to say at this point, being where he is at the stage of his career, to where, I'm 27 right now. Gary, I think until he was like 32, was working at wine library in a liquor store.
Yeah.
So he wasn't even, fully Gary V at that point. So if you just think about one, like how early we are in VeeFriends, and like as humans, just how early we are in life, and how much more time that we have to do the things that we want to do, it helps to put it into perspective. And I think Gary says a lot of the businesses that he's built have quote unquote seemed like an overnight success, or it's like nothing and then everything all at once. Where he saw that with the success of Wine Library and Wine Library TV taking off to where no one was watching, and then all of a sudden everyone was watching. And with VaynerMedia, a similar thing to where it started out really small, and then all of a sudden they're working with these big brands, and everyone's like, "Oh, VaynerMedia is an amazing marketing agency." That I think like it can get easy to see the moment that brands have a breakthrough, or a person has a personal breakthrough, and think that all happened overnight, but you don't see all the behind the scenes and just the genuine time that it took to get to that point.
You're absolutely right, and it's that, and then sometimes just a little luck. I'm looking here at these amazing collaborations, and taking a step back to what you said, these year-end review posts that you guys do, the blog posts, and I think you blast them on LinkedIn too, of like, here's the calendar from 2022, or here's the calendar from 2023.
Those are fun to put together.
And like it's a mouthful, and like you just really need to like sit down and like to digest it. Like, wow, that's a lot to happen. So with that, before we get into that, you're head down, you're in it. Even though you've elevated to this kind of more bird's eye position, you're still in it. Was there any collaboration, a Crocs, a Reebok, a Motu? Was there any collaboration when you saw the slideshow, or you got the email or whatever, that you like had that pinch me moment, like, holy shit, like this is happening?
I think I'm trying to remember to back when I first heard about it, but the two that definitely come to mind are Reebok and Motu, or the Masters of the Universe partnership. I think even like the Masters of the Universe one, I didn't fully grasp how big Masters of the Universe is, and like that Skeletor was tied into He-Man. I didn't have any of that previous context, but I knew how big Skeletor was from all the memes that I've seen on the internet, and just like Skeletor popping up in different popular culture moments and references. To where when I heard that we were doing the partnership with Skill Skeleton, it must have been earlier that year that we were putting the packaging and the actual product design together. Probably even the year before, honestly. But where I was like, wow, like this is like a real moment, like to where we're partnering not only with this big brand that's recognizable, but it's a historical IP that Gary has a very personal connection to. He often draws that parallel between He-Man and VeeFriends as well. So that was really, really cool. And then for Reebok, I was super pumped about it. I come from a sports background,
Right.
playing 3 sports in high school, 4 years of college football, to where a brand like a Reebok or a Nike, like those kind of top tier sports brands are ones that I have been rocking my whole life. And just to see the aspiring alpaca and then the accountable ant like on the shoe with the VeeFriends logo was such a cool moment.
I can't even imagine. So from where you are, and if this is too much of how the sausage is made, we could pass. But are you like just over, like are you just washed over with like inbound opportunities with collaborations that you have to sift through, or do they get passed to you from Gary and those connections, or is it just kind of it depends on which one?
It's usually the latter, to where our partnerships team or Gary or Andy or Trouty, John Troutman will work on facilitating this partnership. And then once kind of the terms are aligned on and that contract signed and we're moving forward onto like kind of second base is typically when I'll get brought in and briefed on, hey, this is happening. Here's roughly when we're thinking about launching it. Some of them obviously are more flexible than others. Obviously, like a Reebok is like, it's got to be this day because they have a launch every other day or something like that. Similar to Crocs. But then from there, it's handing it over to myself and May and the marketing team on how we want to position it, what creative we want to make to promote it, our ideal launch timelines for those partnerships, working with the partners as well on like getting everything approved and all of those go-to-market type campaigns.
So cool. Getting back to the timeline here of events. So February, sometime in February, or maybe it was late January of 23, you guys did a big Twitter space. Gary was on, and you announced this thing called Burn Island, which was huge. I just remember it was one of those, there's huge IRL events, your VeeCons, your access experiences, but then there's like these big virtual events, and generally Gary helped spearhead that. But I just remember this was one of them, and you just kind of had that sense like this was a big thing. Let's just play a little remember when here. The first time you heard of the concept Burn Island, take me to that moment from where you're sitting.
The first time I heard about Burn Island, it must have been mid to late. If we announced it when we announced it in 2022,
3.
Wow, that's crazy. It must have been mid to late.
The first one was February 23.
Yep, that sounds right. It must have been early or mid to late 2022, to where like I got briefed on like this project. Here's this platform. A lot of the eruptions have been built out by Gary and Andy, but not circulated widely within the team. I think like they were still ironing out some details, but had a high level feel for at least the first initial eruptions that they wanted to do. Initially, they were going to be called seasons, Burn Island Season 1, and then they added kind of the storytelling approach to of the eruption with the island and this mysterious location off in the middle of the ocean that is starving for book games tokens. So that's been really fun to play with from like a marketing storytelling perspective. But I remember probably it must have been towards like right when we got back from Christmas and New Year's break at January 2023. Is when we just went full steam ahead on like getting Burn Island ready to go from a tech perspective, a stress testing of the platform and the page, all the marketing materials that we needed to make on what it was, our vision for it. So it's crazy to think back on that was only last February, and just thinking back to now, 16 eruptions and the treasure chest and everything that's transpired since then.
Right. I think I read it was 14 eruptions just in 2023 alone. So you guys came out firing. The first one was I think the dynamic dinosaur.
Yeah.
Go spec. Go. I'm a go guy.
I used to be a goo guy. I used to be pretty hardcore goo, but I've since maybe since joining the team have swapped over to Team Go.
Really? So it's like an accent thing. You kind of just adopt your environment.
Yeah,
That's
maybe.
funny. For historical purposes, I think everyone will look back and laugh at just like a haha thing. I don't know if you guys internally are there yet, but the whole mail-in entries for that first eruption, is that something that took everyone by surprise, or did people see it like as a possibility and it was like, we'll just got to deal with it? Is it too soon?
It was that like no, it's not too soon. We joke about it internally. I think that was the first and last ever format of or eruption
Right.
format of that type.
Sweepstake.
To where we knew obviously just the nature of anyone in Web3 and just general like human psychology of if I could spend $200 on this or I can send in a letter. Obviously, like the choice isn't too difficult. But we wanted to test it out and see how it went, and we learned a lot of lessons from that eruption. The person who won it was on a mail-in entry and got an amazing prize in the first ever Burn Island eruption. So super pumped for him. But yeah, it's something that obviously we joke about internally now and have since learned many lessons since then.
Yeah, we probably won't see any more sweepstakes anytime soon. Is there a figure, and like a ballpark figure, of how many mail-ins were sent in that you can remember? I know it was a while ago.
I don't know. I wasn't too involved in the process of like counting those. Luckily, I wasn't too involved with counting them and going through them. I know it was thousands. So.
Man, that there's probably a couple funny pictures floating around somewhere. So yeah, Burn Island. And for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, if you go to the Burn Island page and scroll to number 1, there it was a sweepstakes where you could burn an NFT, a book games NFT, or maybe a couple. I can't remember. Or if you read the fine print, you could have free mail-in entries, physical letters, which a lot of people chose to do, as Tyler mentioned. So Burn Island became very popular, something that you guys, obviously built up. There are a lot of cool Gary vignettes, like Walt Disney-esque with some of the characters. I think for the first one, and then I think he did it for VeeCon as well, VeeCon 23. But he gave away a CryptoPunk. You guys gave away CNC boxes. We had the list goes on and on. Experiences. Is it something that you guys, and I know Treasure Chest is opening, and that's a big moment. The calendar's March 26, 2024. Is Burn Island something that is just kind of going to be part of the ecosystem, you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think Burn Island is here to stay. Like the treasure, like eruptions will continue. We have the next eruption coming very, very soon. And treasure chest, I think, adds like another fun element to it, which kind of scratches that itch that a lot of people have been hoping to get out of Burn Island, of somewhere where they can see one thing that they know that they want, they know the price for it, and they can immediately burn for it and receive that item. Where a lot of the eruptions are typically a competition, or sometimes first come, first serve, a whole bunch of different formats. But I think like the treasure chest really gives us a lot of room to play for the different treasures that we can put within the chest, and some different fun experiences that we can create.
As both a fan, having your VeeFriends community member fan hat on, and your professional title, was there any kind of response or sentiment that was surprising you, that surprised you from the community? Like, oh, I thought they were going to love that and it didn't quite hit, or like something you thought was going to be more low key had a huge response?
Around Burn Island,
Right, from any of the eruptions.
man, I'm trying to think back to the eruptions. I think one, I'm not sure if I expected more or less out of it, but one that I thought was really, really cool was the Masters of the Universe scene swap that we were able to do. I think scene swaps as a whole, obviously people have different things of what they're looking for out of eruptions in Burn Island. Some people want physical prizes, some people want other NFTs, but the scene swaps and the ability to almost customize your VeeFriends NFT in a way that's typically a very rare scene, a cool artist that we're partnering with, I think is something that fully hasn't been grasped or appreciated by the wider VeeFriends community and Burn Island community. We have some more scene swaps that are coming up that people internally on the team have seen the artwork, and like internally we're not allowed to participate in the scene swaps, but just because obviously we have that that knowledge beforehand. But that have been like, damn, I really wish I could participate in this one. Like, I want this one so bad. So I'm excited to roll those out. But I think like the scene swap concept in general, I think is really fun and creates a new element of your VeeFriends Series 2 NFT that I don't see a lot of other projects doing.
Absolutely. They are very popular. And now that you say it, there is a nice balance between the physical and those. So I thought that's definitely worth mentioning. Now that I couldn't name them all, but relatively and generally speaking, there is a nice balance of offerings. So shout out to you guys for that. I want to talk about VeeCon. Last time you were on, we definitely hit VeeCon 1. Definitely want to talk about the transition from going from year 1 to year 2, but also in the beginning of 2023, you guys added on a new team member who is very familiar to the community, Jeremy. And Jeremy, and I'm from a historian documenting perspective, I definitely want to fill in the dots on Jeremy when I can, when it makes sense, for all the new people coming into this community through the different avenues, the cards, the collectibles, new to this new rush of Web3 people. Jeremy was the unofficial community spokesperson for 4 years, and works his ass off. Eventually gets on the team. So I'd like to just, from your perspective, what was that like bringing him on? Obviously, well deserved. So any like a remember when from when Jeremy joined the team? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, Jeremy is amazing and like just such an asset to VeeFriends. It's been really cool to watch him make that transition from community leader in a way, community spokesperson, to being a member of the team, but still being a daily hardcore advocate for the community, and knowing what the community will want and what their interests are, and how to advocate for those in whatever type of meeting it is. Trying to think, man, I remember before even any of us were on the team, it must have been Jeremy's podcast, or live show on Twitch. I remember when I joined, this was following like kind of the flip journey, and I gotten featured on the VeeFriends Instagram, which I was pumped about.
Yeah,
And
I
Jeremy
remember.
had me on to talk about just the process of flipping from a core to a gift code. And Corso was on it. This is before Corso was even Discord manager. Obviously, way before Jeremy was an employee. And I just remember like how I'd never really done any live community show or anything like that. And Jeremy just made me feel very warm and welcome and like no pressure, which I really appreciate. And I think like I feel in any type of meeting that I have with him of, we meet bi-weekly, him and I, just to go over anything happening in the marketing world and from a social perspective. And he's a joy to work with and a super strong asset on the team.
I love that. Yeah, he a couple weeks ago, he pops in on a space, and there'll be like a VeeFriend space popping up every now and then. But he was on stage once or a couple weeks ago, and he was just going uh, on and on, just being his articulate self, not in a bad way, but he was just explaining something, and he's just you couldn't. Every word has a purpose, and I just kind of like zoned out. I was like doing laundry or something, and like everything in me felt like it was 2021 again. Like he was just hosting the space, like he was that guy again. That all to say, like nothing's really changed. He just gets paid by you guys now.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
he has probably more duties. But yeah, it's all the same.
Yeah, I remember when he first joined the team, like when he got added into our team Slack channel, and I think it was the Iconics Bubblegum Hard Trooper as like his PFP, and he was like, "Well, hey guys," and like most of us had like everyone on the team either knew Jeremy or had heard of Jeremy.
Yeah,
So he got like just a super warm welcome, mixed with like some jokes about like don't give anything to Jeremy because he's gonna leak it. Because
right,
before that, he was always digging in for the alpha and
sure.
very good at finding those little nuggets of information. But that was like just a really exciting moment, I'm sure, for him and for the team as well.
He was the alpha guy. So VeeCon 2023, May, Indianapolis. From just, I mean, there's so many ways I can take this with you. Your learning experience, what the situation was like with a larger team, but just in wherever you want to take it. How was your VeeCon 2023 experience, and was there anything that surprised you for better or worse there?
VeeCon 2023 was amazing. Like just having all the context of what it took to pull off 2022 with the very small and scrappy team that we had, and then in between there adding in a whole events division full of executives that come from a background of running these events and know everything that it takes to do an event properly was really cool. During VeeCon 2023, I spent most of it filming, going around with Jason, who was previously at VaynerMedia, a videographer, to record different clips and videos from the different sponsor activations that they had around the event, and making sure that the sponsors we were meeting those needs of what the sponsors needed. But then I just tried to like where I could like wander a bit and meet people and say hello, sit in on a few of the panels, which was awesome. But it was just so cool to see like all of the process leading up to VeeCon 2022 compared to the process of leading up to 2023, and just how much different and better and improved it was.
Totally up leveled, in every way. Did you have an opportunity to watch slash enjoy Busta Rhymes on
Yeah,
that first night?
yeah. Buster Rhymes, I got to
Okay.
see. I forget what I was doing. I think I had to go back to wherever we were stationed to like upload some footage and tie off some loose ends. I think like with our like end of day recap video. But then I hopped on like a Lime scooter and shot over to where the amphitheater where Buster Rhymes was performing, and I got there. I think like perfect timing. Like 2 or 3 minutes like before Busta came out. So I missed the opening acts, but was able to see Busta, which was super cool. And like the moment that he had with Gary was really fun. That was really sick.
The last night, and this is just one person's opinion, because this is my story, but the last night of VeeCon, card night, Uno tournament, there's such a scene, such an amazing event with so much energy towards the card community, towards collectibles, that kind of sent us off in what we refer to as cardboard summer now, with tons of streams. Eventually, the national super stickers pop up, which explode, followed by the Halloween pins and stickers, which explode. You were someone that's not. You were someone that's frequents the chats and the twitches of the community breaks now and then. So from your perspective, like, did you slash you guys like feel that, like those ripples, those vibes at HQ of what was happening with Cardboard Summer? And I know you guys pop in there, but like that was a special time, and it still is special.
Yeah.
But just curious, like looking at that like Cardboard Summer era, like what's your take?
I could feel myself like personally being drawn to it. And like I'm not someone who really watches that type of content of card breaks or pin box breaks. But just like I think it was one like the just like camaraderie of the community, like being in those chats, and like how they would react to a different pull. And then also like from my end, like anytime it was a series one box break, it was like must watch TV for me. Like those and they still are, like those type of breaks, like just for some reason like hit a different chord with me to where I get really excited and like just really into it. I can't wait to see like who gets the spectacular and what it is. And then even just like the series two box breaks, like whatever foil it is, like it just like
Right.
um hits like a different level of enjoyment that like I don't typically get out of that type of content. So I could definitely feel it from like a community perspective and just tuning into those streams. And I know like the team as a whole did as well.
I watched that when Chels pulled the first black cat. I watched that many times, and my favorite part about it was looking back at the chat. And looking back, it was such a like microcosm of camaraderie, because like you're in there. Yeah, I mean obviously everyone in the community, card people, but plus some like other people that you would be surprised to see in a card thread. But obviously Gary, Andy's in there, you're in there, Daniel's in there, Corso, obviously. Like it was just amazing to see like the team and the community come together. Like I said, like one of these virtual events, that just kind of brings everyone together. There's no tiers. There's no like you're the president and you don't have a VF1. It was just like a community thing, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And it was a really special time that kind of jump started this Fanatics live era we're now in. So it's like all the time there's somewhere to go to kind of be with the VeeFam.
Yeah, and Fanatics Live and just live streaming as a whole is such a priority for us. Obviously, I think anyone paying attention can notice that we're doubling down on live streaming this year, and I think one like for those types of experiences that can only be replicated live virtually with the community there hanging out, those types of like Fanatics Live and Cards Breaks, but then also just reaching new audiences like across TikTok and YouTube and Twitch, with the comic streams. We're live 6 days a week on one platform, if not all platforms, and just trying to create that type of environment for every stream and every old viewer, existing viewer, or new viewer that's tuning in.
Amazing. It's so cool to watch, and these moments where like I have these conversations with you guys is just it's fun. It's to just reflect.
Yeah,
It's
so much has happened
because
over the past 3 years.
it happens so fast, and like getting time to jam and to reflect is super cool. From you, let's put your fan hat on now. Let's put your regular old Tyler hat on. Where if any, do you gravitate towards more? Do you like the cards and dabble into that? Pins, stickers, like do you have your flavor?
I think the pins, weirdly enough, like I never was into collecting pins, but I have some of the Halloween pins and like have them on my backpack and stuff to where um the pins are probably my favorite. I have like some of the Series 2 cards. I have a Series 1 Otter card that is kind of like my prized card possession. And the super stickers, I'm torn on the super stickers because I want to use them and like put them on stuff, but I know like when I put them on something, I'm gonna regret
Over.
it and like want to move it to somewhere else. Um, so they're almost like cards in a way to me. But personally, I've been like really liking the pins, and we have a lot of fun stuff coming up with all those lines of collectibles with stickers, pins, and cards. But I think just like the quality on the pins is amazing, and the characters pop in a way that I really resonate with.
Yeah, I was guilty of taking those original VeeCon stickers. You guys were selling them in just like in a little baggie. There's a black cat and a bunch of the new characters. We stuck them on stuff. The black cat, fortunately, we did not keep in that one. But yeah, it is nice to save it sometimes to keep it nice.
Yeah, totally.
Two quick last two kind of bunched together for this kind of remember when, like your first thoughts and when you found out that this was happening. And I think this is a nice jumping point to like kind of put the flag in as we go forward until our next convo. So we have two things that in my mind we always knew were coming, always inevitable. We have children's books and children's programming. We, anyone that's from the first time you heard Gary talking about it, you knew he was going to develop these characters and just deploy them in these mediums. But we have the Meet Me in the Middle book announced recently, and then this Moonbug announcement where it's announced later this summer, 2024. Characters are going to be developed in programming on YouTube Kids. So take me anywhere you want to go there. I'd love to hear your thoughts when you first found out. Probably similar to everyone else, you knew it was coming, but now it's official. Now the ink is dry and everything is signed.
Yeah, the Meet Me in the Middle was, so we announced that basically top of the year, January 2024. We started working on it from a marketing perspective around October of last year, probably closer to November, just because October last year was such an insane month. So where we were trying to get everything out for October instead of getting ahead on stuff. But then we had like the initial calls with HarperCollins. Obviously at that point, like the book was already being produced. They were writing like all the copy for it, doing the illustrations. So I was just like trying to get my hands on any type of like draft pages or anything to get some insight into who the characters were, what they were going to be doing in the book, which I think like I'm really, really excited for people to read it and check it out for themselves, because I think the team did an amazing job with the book. So that one was really cool, and I think obviously is something that Gary said from day one of I want to do children's books, to where now it's like, all right, like here it is, like we're doing it. Here's the first one, won't be the last one, and just like really excited about how that one came to be, and excited for the release for that in July. And then for the Moonbug Entertainment partnership, that one I was looped in around December of last year. That one just being such a big deal with such a big company, there was a lot of just paperwork to like basically be finalized before that information was made, was spread even internally. And that one was more of like a kind of within like a tight circle within VeeFriends, just because it was such a big announcement for us that we couldn't risk any type of like leak or
Sure.
anything. especially like heading into a holiday break and things like that. But then when we hit the ground, we came back from break in January 2024. It was just full steam ahead into Me in the Middle announcement, which was like a week after we got back from a 2-week break for Christmas and New Year's, and then getting Moonbug ready to launch and getting that news out there, which was amazing. I live like a few hours from the city, so I don't go in too often to the office, but I went in for the Moonbug announcement and had been working with our PR team on obviously Gary's CNBC hit and when they were going to drop that announcement. And that one was kind of a moving target, that announcement date, just with CNBC's schedule and Gary's schedule and trying to coordinate Kevin from Moonbug's schedule. And then when I found out it's like locked in, all right, we're going to announce it Monday. I headed into the office and like we were all standing around the TV watching Gary's CNBC feed, and then Gary's in his office doing it. And there's kind of like the tape delay, obviously, with streaming it. So Gary like finished the interview, came out of his office, and like watched the rest with us, and we all celebrated. So that was like just an amazing moment to get that out the door and see all the excitement that was around that drop.
What a cool moment. And it's going to get cooler as we move on these weeks, months, and years. Wow. What a time. And yeah, you mentioned October. Like we could do 2 hours just on what you guys did in October of 23.
Yeah,
with all that. You know, all of you guys are humble. All of you guys say, you know, it's a team effort, which I appreciate. I get, and the community is very much the same. There's an abundance of humility here. But if you had to blow the whistle on someone and give roses in a great way to maybe someone on the team, or even I'll open it up to anybody. Is there anybody that you toss them to right now?
Yeah, I mean, I could literally go down the list of everybody at VeeFriends and shout them out on just how amazing they are. I think like I'm just blessed to work for a team that is as quality and has as quality of people and employees that VeeFriends does. I think last time I shouted out May New, who is my boss, director of marketing and social at VeeFriends, who is just like a legend and a star and a role model of mine who I appreciate a ton. Someone who's kind of an unsung hero. Hopefully she's okay with me blowing her up a little bit. Her name's Carrie Caston. She is our director of project management. And so she handles basically not all projects, because we have other project managers under her that are specific to those departments. But Carrie just has juggles so many announcements and launches and projects. Obviously from my end, I'm just thinking about it from the marketing perspective, but she's thinking about it cross department and how we're sharing information cross department and cross functionally and making sure that we're hitting our timelines and everything like that. And does it with just a ton of kindness and grace and professionalism that I really appreciate. So shout out to Carrie.
And I'm gonna throw one more your way. And this is obviously layered. There's a lot that goes on, but I feel like I've talked to enough people and have had enough interaction with him to get a sense of who he is. But it really, it kind of irks me, and I could say this because I'm not associated with anything. It really irks me when people go at Andy. Just for the record, like a quick, as a person, as a boss, a quick, like what is misunderstood, or what do people need to know about Andy, if you had to just put it out there?
Yeah, I don't know if it's misunderstood, but Andy, coming from leading Gary's personal brand of Team Gary V for 9 straight years, was able to get a level of access into Gary's brain on just how he thinks about different business decisions and strategies and culture building type things that I don't know if people have full context on, just how much Andy knows about business and just the different strategies that we need to take to grow. And obviously, he works very closely with Gary. A lot of people see VeeFriends and they think Gary, who obviously is doing a lot of the leading, but Andy is really like making sure that we're operationally sound and everyone's basically doing what we need to and like setting ourselves up for success and growth. And just as a person, he's like very easy to get along with. He's very kind, and he's kind of has like a gentle personality, but can be kind of soft spoken and extremely humble, and likes to give credit where a lot of the times it's him doing being very involved in whatever that accomplishment was. And Andy's someone that I've looked up to since 5 years before I started working at VeeFriends, just being interested in marketing and Gary and the behind the scenes of everything. That I'm just grateful that Andy's in the position that he's in, and that I get to work with him so closely.
I appreciate that. I don't know what it is when I see people out on the feeds kind of go at him. My be the bigger person jacket kind of comes off for a little, and I wanna jump, but
I think like he has many strengths, and that's one of them, just being the bigger person and super empathetic person to understand where people are coming from. And Gary's the same way, and I think it's probably something that Andy's learned from Gary, of just being able to be empathetic and be the bigger person and like keep moving forward.
Yeah, it's a muscle. You got to keep on working out and flexing. Real quick before we get to our last segment, forgive me, I forget what you said last time. I'm gonna. It's been a little bit. The character that Tyler Dowdle in March 2024 needs to spend more time with is.
I think before I'd said organized ostrich.
Yes, that's it. That's exactly it.
I think now it might be confident cobra, of just having a certain level of internal and external confidence in like just everything, just overall confidence. And like I tend to be more on the humble and humility side, to where sometimes I think like it could be a bit more confident and pat myself on the back a bit more.
Respect that. Do you ever think about making more content for you?
Not really, just because I'm so like that's all I do during the day is brainstorm and get feedback on and make sure that content is being made, to where like towards the end of the day, like I just want to like read a book or watch a show, and don't have a ton of, even though I know it's like how you build personal brand and all that stuff. I'd like to, I guess I make content in different ways, like where I like to write tweets and post Instagram stories where I'm not editing reels or doing green screens.
I could totally empathize with that. Tyler, I appreciate you so much for coming on again. I said at the top, but just putting me on and co-signing, saying like this dude's all right, really really means a lot. It's really given me a lot of other opportunities, and hence like just more relationships and all of the good stuff that is the utility of this, what we're doing here. So thank you again. I know it's the second of hopefully many, as we go on in these years. So appreciate you. Micro macro Spitfire. Here we go. Some of these are going to be repeats, so it's going to be nice to compare and contrast. You can go as general and macro as possible, or as you want, or get your microscope out. All right. Today, 2024, someone's getting into VeeFriends. Who are they following?
It's Jeremy. I think as I was listening to the different team members that have come on, I think most of their answers are either Jeremy or Gary, but Jeremy's the person you gotta follow. He's got all the context. He's doing all the sharing. He's got the info. Follow Jeremy.
Your favorite non-card physical VeeFriends piece of memorabilia, not a card.
My favorite one that is, I think, underrated, is the, can't really see it behind me, the gold Flex and Fox figurine, which was, I want to say, it's the first ever figurine that we've made. It was super limited run with a partnership with Cool Kicks in LA. Was able to snag one, and that's like kind of like my centerpiece in my collection. So I love the gold Flex and Fox
I totally agree. That and the skateboard, I think, are underrated.
skateboard. Yeah.
Your favorite gift goat drop?
My favorite gift card drop, man, I would say like Tonal. I think was amazing, even though it was like 14.5. That's something like I could see myself using. Other than that, I really like the drift partnership with the Vans, which I thought was a really cool kind of merging of two worlds. With Drift is an amazing photographer and artist and person that I was genuinely jealous of the goats as we announced that, and I saw that one go up.
Sorry, I just deleted something. Your favorite Adam Sandler movie?
Wow, that's a left field one. My favorite Adam Sandler movie, I think Happy Gilmore. Happy Gilmore is just a classic and is like peak Adam Sandler.
Who was born in 1997?
I have no idea. That's the genuine answer.
Your VeeCon 2024. By the way, this is not NVFA, not VeeFriends Advice. This is Tyler. VeeCon 2024 is in LA. If VeeCon 2025 should happen to appear on our calendars, where do you think in the world it would be?
Where will it be? I'll say this one just because I know Cam and yourself will enjoy it. Charleston, South Carolina.
Let's go. I think you mentioned this, but your favorite eruption so far?
My favorite eruption so far. Which one did I say? Oh, the scene spot. I think the CryptoPunk one was really exciting. Like just the videos that people made that genuinely shared like their experiences of overcoming negativity and cynicism in their life, and being a real type of testimonial to how that level of thinking can benefit you in your day-to-day life was really amazing. Obviously, CryptoPunks are one of the most iconic NFT projects ever. Probably will be forever. And just the fact that somebody won one of those was, I think, it's going to be very hard to top that prize from a Burn Island eruption perspective, and also just the content and the messaging and the sentiment that came out of it from the 240 plus community responses that participated was really, really cool to see.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And Kama, speaking of that, I think while we're talking about underrated physical pieces of memorabilia, the pin that they sent all of the participants, the Cynical Cat pin, super underrated, under the radar. I think that's a play if you're around here for the long run.
I agree.
Who's the most this is kind of layered. Who's the most underrated funny person on the VeeFriends team?
Most underrated funny person, I think it's got to be Adam Rips. Adam just has like a different level of sense of humor that, he jokes in times where I'm like, man, like I wouldn't joke then, but like it lands because it's Adam and he does it well. Yeah, it's got to be Rips.
Gratitude Gorilla or Patient Pig?
Gratitude Gorilla.
Friends, Full House, or The Office?
Friends, Full House, or The Office? Friends.
The last show you binged?
Currently watching Swing season 2, or Full Swing season 2, which is the golf kind of documentary.
And I know you're a football guy. 2024-2025 season, will the Jets make the playoffs?
Yes. I think
will it get to that?
They've got enough pieces. Aaron Rodgers is going to come back and have a good year. They made some good preseason or off-season moves, and I think that division is wide open for them.
I'm going to assume that you're going to say the Bucs are going to make the playoffs. Who goes further in the playoffs, Jets or Bucs?
The Bucs. The Jets, I think, the Jets making the Super Bowl or making the playoffs is their Super Bowl, to where the Buccaneers have established this as our standard of making the playoffs and are not trying to make deep runs.
That is true. The Pats regular season used to be our Super Bowl, but now it's just making it to the game while we have Aaron. Coming in for round 2, I got to change it up a little. What do you want people to say, whether it's on Twitter, on a space, they're walking by randomly at a Vegas activation or somewhere, anywhere? What do you want as a member of the team for someone to look at VeeFriends and say?
That the characters and the message of VeeFriends have something that I take with and apply it to my everyday life, and has made my life better and happier.
And something we definitely need in a political year, which we're in. Lastly, what VeeFriend needs to be voted into the White House this year in 2024?
I think balanced beetle. I think someone who is a bit more in the middle and understands both sides and has a nice balance would be a breath of fresh air for everybody.
I love it. I think that's the perfect answer. Ty, thank you so much. Love you taking the time. Hats off for all the amazing work you're doing and still being in the community, still loving it. It's so nice to see when I get to jam with you guys. So really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll talk soon and see you at VeeCon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Rob. And thank you so much for everybody who tuned in and listened. Whether you're walking your dog or driving to work, appreciate you guys tuning in and being a part of the VeeFriends community. And make sure you tune in, or make sure you leave a review for Rob on Spotify and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Smash the like button, whatever you got to do to support Rob. He's a great guy. And hope you enjoyed. Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it. Thank you.